Hey YouTube, still managing to keep up my video a day. Don't know how long I'm going to keep that for, but I'm managing it so far. This is a very special instrument. It's possibly, when people always ask me what my favourite guitar is, I always say, oh, I've got too many to have a favourite. This one might be it. It's not a guitar, it's a bass, or it's a bit of both. But it's this could be my favourite. This is my first sort of vintage well, technically my first vintage Japanese one was that, the Aria ZZB, but you've seen the story about that when I sold it 20 years ago, or 21 years ago, and got it back last year off the guy who bought it from the shop that I traded it into. Always regretted selling that, but this was my first modern era, when I say that, for me, Japanese guitar. So it's an 8-string bass, 4 strings tune at the top, 4 strings tune at the bottom. So it's like a 12-string guitar. So you still E, A, D, G, but you get 2 E's and 2 A's and 2, so you get like an octave. Sometimes it's called an octave bass. That was basically the reason I bought it, was because I saw John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, bass and keyboard player, it said on the ticket. He did a tour in about 2003, something like that, for an album he did called Zuma or something like that, where it was just it was a stunning gig. I think there was only like 4 dates on the tour. One of them was in Glasgow, and it was basically him, a guy playing a Chapman stick, and a drummer, and it was just amazing. The guy playing the Chapman stick was just absolutely sick. He was playing Trampled Underfoot, so he was playing the bass, and John Paul Jones was playing slide. So basically the bass player, or the Chapman stick guy, was playing Trampled Underfoot. So he was going dun 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 dun, at the same time as going at the same time, doing both the guitar part and the bass part, like giving it double finger tapping, and it was just unbelievable. And then we just go stunning instrumental gig. But so he had that album was pretty heavily 8-string bass. I didn't know that until I went to the gig though, and then Hugh Manson, who's a famous guitar builder tech, was his tech for that tour. Well, I think it was only a few gigs. I actually got to meet Mr. Manson. So he had a different Manson bass for every song, and he was using 8 strings, and it was just like, it sounded absolutely thunderous. I thought it was amazing. So that was the reason when I saw this. I saw this actually in Guitar in Glasgow, hanging up for 1,250 quid. And I saw it and thought, wow, that's a pure hideous looking, it's an 8-string bass, I've never seen one, I can't believe it, that's so awesome. And then I was in with my pal, and then we were sitting after on the way back, driving up the road. I was like, I'll be all that 8-string bass, the second hand one, it was hanging on the wall, that looked absolutely amazing. Pity it was 1,200 quid though. And he was like, I don't think it was 1,200, was it not 250 quid? And I was like, no, surely it was 1,200, was it not neck through and all that? So as soon as I get in the door, it was like, hello, guitar, you've got an 8-string bass hanging up on the wall. Yeah. What's the price on that? The guy's like, 250 quid. And I was like, right. Turned around, went back in and put a deposit on it, because I was like, I've never seen an 8-string bass apart from for sale before. And little did I know that was my first of my obsession with Japanese guitars, really. So this is made by Yamaki, and we're not sure exactly the year, about 1981, I think. It's a b20-8 stage series. As you can see, it's bound neck, brass nut, brass fretboard inlays, which are pretty cool. You can see the way it's got the ferrules in the back of the headstock, where the thin strings go through. It's got an amazing super V asymmetrical neck. It's also neck through, which you can't see because of this piece of snake I'm using as a strap. But look at I'll do it this way, you might not see it. Look at the wood the back's made of. Get the angle right. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's unbelievably figured ash. I mean, imagine putting that in the back. Let's get the wooden cavity covers. There's an awful lot of things about this that absolutely just scream. You don't see guitars made like this anymore. I mean, I was amazed by it. I just assumed it was I don't know what I thought it was at the time. It was like, this is the one I used to show off to people. Like, have you ever seen anything like this? And it's like, not just the fact it's an 8-string bass that tunes the other way, which is already totally unbelievably cool. It's the fact it's neck through and it's made of this most ridiculous fancy wood. Yeah, stunning thing. It's also got an intonable bridge, so you could intone each string separately, which you can't do on a lot of 8-string basses you see. Not that you see very many, but a lot of them just have like one saddle with 2 notches on it. And you know, if you're people complain about the Telecasters, you know, Telecasters have got 3 saddles. Well, they always say you can never intone. It's always a compromise with the D and G strings, because one of them's wound and one of them's not wound, so you always have to kind of put it somewhere in the middle so they're neither really in tune. One's a wee bit sharp, one's a wee bit flat. Well, you can imagine that's between a D and a G string. There's not that much difference in size, whereas if you look at the strings on this, you know, obviously there's a big difference between the thick string and the thin string. You know, so it needs to have its own, it needs to be intoned different separately to make it work. Not that I've got it set up, but still, this is still the way it was when I got it. I need to buy strings for it and give this a proper clean. I bought this before I was mad into these guitars, so this has got grubby pickups. Normally with something like this I would take it to bits, clean every bit, put it back together again so it was as good as new. Never got around to doing it with this, and the strings are a couple of years old. Just got some information about this. I run a Facebook site called Washburn Guitars, the Golden Era, which covers the Japanese Washburns built from sort of 78 when they started doing them to about 88 or 87, whenever it is they stopped doing thing. And they're kind of split into 2 parts. You get the up to 1983 ones, which are made by this company Yamaki, and then from 1983 to 1987 or whatever it is, they were made by a company called Chushin, and they weren't the same spec. They were still as good as like a couple of £1,000 guitar these days, you know, sort of Gibson quality type thing, as opposed to these, which are I don't know, better, as good as you can get, really, pure no expense spared stupidness. But as I said, with that page yesterday, the day before, my pal tagged me, pal Aaron, cheers, tagged me in a page. Someone had put a picture of their Washburn Eagle on a site, and I was like, that pair, just about on it was called Guitar Universe. It was a site that I was a member of, but I never see anything from it. You know, I obviously have to change the algorithm or when I see it or something. But because I was tagged, I was like to the guys, Eagle, amazing. And then I sent my picture. I've got like 6, the Hawk and the Falcon and all that. So I sent my picture of that, and it was like just to say, yes, I love these. They're amazing. I'm pure addicted. I've got one too, sort of thing. And then I said, I'd run a site, you know, the Washburn fan page, the Golden Era. I should join that. So he joined that, and then yesterday he started goes up here, I've got these price lists. So he's actually just put up price lists for everything you could get in the UK from Washburn from 1981, and it's like total hive of information, stuff we just didn't know. So now we know what ones came out in the UK and what the range was. You know, there was a pink one, and there was like all these things. This is in it. It's the first time I've ever actually seen this anywhere. There's a couple of pictures online, but there's not really any info on it. So this has actually it's got a model name. It does exist. It was a proper run guitar, not a one-off thing. And it's got a price on it as well. Not actually that expensive. Well, probably in today's money it'll be expensive. So if you want to see some information, it's like got the Hawk and the Falcon and all that. So it explains why some colours are rarer than others and all these things. The total hive of information. Brilliant, from like 4 sheets of paper. Wow. Yeah. So I'll stop rabbiting on. 9 minutes of just talking without even playing it. Good stuff. I did do a video using this of Slade's Christmas song just before Christmas, if you want to hear me play a song on it. But yeah, so for me it was John Paul Jones, and also Manowar, bass player in Manowar, Joey DeMeo, uses an 8-string bass, which I'm not sure, did I know Manowar before I bought it? Can't remember. Around about the same time, I think. So you can see it's got an interesting sound. pickup. Both pickups. This isn't where the strap button's meant to be, so it looks a bit odd the way it's attached to the bottom horn. Well, the strap button hole was actually kind of on the back here, and I moved it so that it wasn't pure super neck heavy and it hangs nice. And it doesn't restrict your playing, not that you're never really up there anyway, but you know, you can get up to sort of, that's the 15th to the 17th without even touching the strap, and then you can just push, you can still get higher than that. But it really comes to life with a distortion pedal. That's my Behringer Overdrive pedal, which is not as good as the Rat pedal for this, but it's plugged into that amp, so. It's not got enough gain on it. I don't know how gainy this thing goes. Yeah, like that sort of thing. It's a strange instrument, really is. So I think that's probably. So the guitar version of this has been on my must-get list since I got this, basically, because I was aware that there was a guitar version of it. So it's the same. This is a b20-8, so there's an A20, which is basically this, but it's a guitar. I've got an A5, you can see hanging on the wall there, that red one, which is awesome as well. It's a bolt-on neck one. There's an A10. Well, I've got two A10s, which is sort of in the middle. It's a through neck, not a through neck, a set neck, and with binding and stuff. And then you move on to the A20, which is through neck, and this there's a tiger maple top and the through neck. But I've not found one. I've seen a couple go past, but they've been too expensive. You know what I mean? People, I'm not sure how you value something like this. You do get a B20, which is just like the 4-string version of this, which doesn't have the extra tuners on it. I saw one of them that was yellow, and it was sold in 10 minutes, and it was really expensive, far more than I can afford to ever buy a guitar for. So I'll hold out for one day, maybe getting I'm not really that bothered, but it'd be nice to get the B20, you know, the 4-string version of this. There's also a 12-string. This is from this price list thing I got access to yesterday. There's a 12-string version of the guitar, which is the same idea as this. It's got the six thin tuners on the bottom of it, which I've seen one photo of one before, but I wasn't really sure whether it was actually like a prototype or how many of them were made, but they're actually in the catalogue. So are not in the catalogue, they're in the price list, so they do exist. The guy who made, some more information I got, my pal Michael lives in Denmark, held a Daeon event thing. Daeon is sort of the Yamaki company's home brand of their own stuff, and they're, if anything, even more fancy than Washburns. They've got ones that are very similar. They're not very pretty guitars though. There's something about the shapes that don't quite work. They're not exactly the same. They don't have one that looks like this. But they've got something. But the guy who started the company, or his dad started the company previously doing acoustics. He was the guy who came in and started doing the electrics and designed them, basically, and spec'd them out and stuff. Reckoned that Yamaki in total made 30,000 guitars, and about 10% of them were Washburns, and about 40% were Daeon, and the other 50% were Yamaki brand for the Japanese home market. They never really came over here. You do see it occasionally. So basically 10% of 30,000 is there's 3,000 Washburns, and they can't be that rare. 3,000 is nothing. Do you know what I mean? I've seen too many of them. There can't be. This is the guy who made them though. So I mean, he can't be that far wrong. So like double that or something. So let's say there's 6,000 of them, but that covers all the stage series, the wing series. The wing series are these ones. That's been hanging up on the wall. This shape. So you've got like hawks and falcons and vultures, scavengers, eagles, ravens, right? They're all made. Oh, you might not be counting the ravens in that. So maybe don't count the ravens, but that's so it's like 5 models of wing series. There's the B20, the A20, the A10s, the A5s. There's 4 series, 2, 3 and 4, and there's Washburn acoustics, and a grand total 3,000 of all of them put together. Like all the different colours, everything, and you're just like, it just seems these things must be insanely rare. So I wonder how many of these there actually are kicking about. I mean, it is feasible that there's like 25 made or something stupid like that. So I think Yamaki made these things, but they were pretty much handmade. So they were made in batches of sort of 20 or 30 or something like that. There was only 30 folk worked in the factory at any one time. So you're like, a staff. If they did a staff of 30, that probably included someone designing it and the secretary. That. So I mean, it's like they're really handmade super things that you just don't get these days. But I mean, you can kind of tell when you play them that they are. I can go into a guitar shop and look at the most expensive things they've got, and they're not like this. Do you know what I mean? These are better. Although I shouldn't be saying that because I'm still after a couple. I'm still after the A20. Really, there's an A15 which I'm not really that keen on. It looks a bit horrible. It's like a guitar, but it's got a scratch plate, 3 single coils, and the scratch plate makes it look ugly for some reason. So I'll maybe get one at some point. But that's to complete my. I've already got pretty much the whole wing set. Well, I've got the whole wing set, and I've got the A5, 2 A10s. So maybe if you add them together, it makes an A20. So it's really the A20 I need to finish this off. And the bass, the B20 bass would be nice, but I'm quite happy with just having this one instead. So very little playing and lots of talking. I took this into the studio a couple of weeks ago. The singer couldn't make it, so we went in anyway, just guitar, bass and drums. And I took this in and we played a few songs, played Symptom of the Universe on it with drums and guitar, and it was thunderous. I was playing chords on it as well, but the bits were why is it not? Okay, yeah, so there it goes. I was giving it. Awesome. You could almost get away with basically. I would love to go in one time with a drummer and just. In fact, I'm in 2 bands, I'm sure. I'm sure I could probably get either of the drummers to go in with me, just the two of us, and I'll just sing and play this, and I think you could do a total White Stripes thing, but it wouldn't be missing. You could play Motorhead and Black Sabbath, and it would cover the bass and the guitar pretty much. The solos would be difficult. You just have to wing it a wee bit, but... So no, this one's not for sale. This would, if I had to sell things, this would be one of the very, very last to go. Possibly my favourite guitar. I might change my mind if I, cycle through more, but at present, this, look at it. This isn't. It's not even. I've not even cleaned it up, so it doesn't look sparkly, but it will. I'm going to get onto it. I'll buy strings. Strings were a bit of a pig to get for it because it's really long scale. So even though if you do buy bass strings, I've actually bought. I've gone through 3 sets on this. First one I got from America, they were fine. Second time I got them from America, I got the same ones, and they must have been just over whatever the limit is before you start getting charged. So the first time it was like $12 or something like that, a bargain, you know what I mean? And then the second time they must have gone up to $14 or something. I thought, that's no problem. So $14 plus a £25 bill from importing for, it's like, damn it. So the last time I bought strings, I just bought piccolo strings. So I just bought the thin ones separately, which weren't, I could get, I think D'Addario made them. They weren't that expensive. So you basically, and because this is really long scale, a lot of the strings you get are the sort of, see the red bit there, where it's, the sort of thready stuff on it. The thready stuff's actually coming down halfway through the first fret, so you have to peel off the thready stuff to get it to be long enough to take the strings. Something to do with the fact it's, I suppose a normal bridge the strings would stop there, whereas in this one they go quite a bit back, and then they go through the back of the guitar. But the neck on it is the first one I've had with this asymmetrical triangular neck, like a Toblerone bar, and it's amazing. It's the same on all the Yamaki stage series are the same, and it's like, I don't know if you've they use the asymmetrical neck thing on expensive Gibsons. I think Slash gets it. So basically, it's kind of the same shape as your arm. So this bit here, this side is shorter than this side. So the centre point is not actually there; it's actually here. And it actually fits in your hand because that's the shape your hand is. And apparently that was a mistake. It was something wrong with what they did was they carved the neck, and then they had like a duplicating machine when they were rough carving the necks, and there was something not calibrated when they were doing it. So they ended up all being slightly asymmetrical, which is now a feature that you go, oh, asymmetrical neck is amazing, but it was actually a mistake apparently. So it's like, seems crazy to me when you're going to put that much effort into it. But it's quite funny. Also see the bridge. Obviously it was a slight bit of an afterthought. It's actually recessed into the body because obviously it's through neck, so you can't adjust this thing, but you can't really get very easily at the intonation wheels, which is probably why I've never actually bothered intonating it. Because it's, you could probably just about get at them. I'd be worried about scraping and damaging the surface getting at them with a screwdriver. So the bridge, it's obviously, it's a tune-o-matic type thing. It's meant to sit on the surface. It doesn't. It sits below the surface. But I mean, they got round it, and then it goes through these. The strings go through these mad guides here to get onto the tuners. Yeah. No, beautiful thing. 25 minutes of talking, no playing. If you want to hear me playing a song with it, it's on the Look Up My Slade Christmas thing from, well, about a month and 4 days ago when I did it on Christmas Eve. I played Merry Christmas Everybody on this. That was through the rap pedal and the guitar amp though, as opposed to being the bass pedal, the bass amp. Rock and roll!